So, Bumblebee, the prequel slash spin-off to Michael Bay's Transformers. Now I know initially everyone's going to be praising this from the rooftop because they're going to be like yes, it's a coherent Transformers story. You know, it doesn't have any like muddied subplots. It doesn't have characters we don't care about. It actually has heart and spirit and a lighthearted nature to it and designs where you can actually see, you know, the robots as more than just like messes of parts and junk like that. It feels simplified. It feels like everything's been fixed more or less. And yes, but here's the thing. We need to look at this from a different perspective. Okay, first off, we can't compare this to the Michael Bay Transformers films. Despite the fact that it takes place in the same universe, it is produced by Michael Bay, even though it is directed by Travis Knight. We can't look at it the same way, because this isn't the same type of Transformers movie at all. This is a much simpler film. Because it doesn't feel as muddied up with all like the Cybertron politics and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like it's mounting up with like too many characters or backstories or histories or anything like that. It's a much simplified story, and it's a much different story than the other Transformers films. This doesn't exactly make it a great film, but I know for a lot of people, after enduring all the huge, you know, like incoherent messes of, you know, just like all the Transformers films, like especially like, you know, like The Last Night, which I think had something like 6 or 7 subplots going at one time. It just felt like too much, and you didn't really feel anything for it. And here's a film that's actually trying to make you feel something. Okay, so like it feels great because it feels like it's whittled down everything about the Transformers movies to make a more simplified adventure. And the key thing here too is it's better targeted towards kids. Because let's face it, kids have been like the main audience for Transformers, and I think this is the one best suited for them. Okay, so here's the thing. It starts off with, you know, the war on Cybertron, which actually looks... it doesn't look as messy. I mean, it's still like a big battle of like lasers going off and robots all over the place. But like I said, the designs have been simplified. They look more traditional, like the G1 Transformers, where you can actually recognize color on them instead of just like moving parts. And so like all the Autobots have to escape after the Cybertronium War and go colonize other places. Now Bumblebee is the first to land on Earth, the first of the Autobots in the War of Decepticons. He's the first to land on Earth, and then of course he's attacked by Decepticons. And the Decepticons want to know where Optimus and the others are, except apparently for one Decepticon who I guess he has like a beef with Bumblebee because he apparently like rips out his audio so he can't talk. So if you ever wondered why Bumblebee only speaks with like the radio, well, there you go. There are his origins, in case anyone was interested. So then, after a big fight and an explosion, he loses his memory, and he just kind of lies dormant as a Volkswagen Beetle. In contrast to how he was with the other Transformers movies. So he just sits there as a Beetle, and he has no memory, and he can't speak, so he's kind of on his own, and he's kind of scared. But then this teenage automotive prodigy, Charlie, played by Haley Steinfeld, she happens upon the Volkswagen Beetle. She fixes him up, and then what do you know? He's a Transformer, and now they're friends. Now, of course, Charlie can relate to Bumblebee very well because she's an outsider. She hasn't gotten over the loss of her father. You know, her family doesn't understand her. Everyone at school's mean to her. She feels completely alone. So of course she naturally gravitates towards Bumblebee. So they have a little bit of a cute relationship there. You know, she teaches him, all about the human world. They have some cute little antics here. You know, Bumblebee's, he's curious and scared, and he's accidental, and he breaks stuff. There's some cute sequences, especially when she's introducing music to him, which apparently Cybertronians really don't like Rick Astley music, for an easy joke there. An easy 1980s joke, which we got to mention that right off the bat. There's a title card at the beginning when Bumblebee comes to Earth that says it's 1987. The thing is, like, do we even really need that title card? Because this film goes out of its way with the 80s references to make sure that it takes place in the 1980s. Like, they show Alf on the television. People have teenagers have the Thing posters on their wall. They're watching The Breakfast Club on television. It's just 80s references all over, just in case you don't know that this takes place in 1987. Just in case you missed that title card, in case you come in late. There were a few parents who came in late to the screening, so I understand they'll get caught up here. So yeah, the stuff with Bumblebee where, he's connecting with the girl it's kind of cute stuff. I just wish there were more of it, because it feels like the film is too refined where we don't get a lot of moments to see that connection there. It's certainly not on the same level as E.T. Or the Iron Giant, and it does kind of come close with like a lot of those elements. Like, of course, you have the quintessential scene where Bumblebee is he's wandering around the house and he's breaking everything, and then you have later there's the big action sequence where Bumblebee has to say like I go, you stay type stuff from Iron Giant. I just wish there were more sequences. Like, Iron Giant actually took its time to have more sequences of chemistry between the boy and his robot, and it feels like there should be more here, especially because the main plot about the Decepticons coming to take over Earth, it's not that interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's more refined than the Michael Bay Transformers films. It's more refined where there's not a whole bunch of subplots going. The Decepticons, the two that come to Earth, there's only two this time, only two, so we don't have to keep track of too many. The Decepticons are Shatter, voiced by Angela Bassett. She does a pretty good job in her role. And Dropkick, voiced by Justin Theroux. He's kind of forgettable. I barely even heard that many lines out of him. And Dropkick, he's very eager to, kill all the humans. And Shatter is more of the deceptive type. She realizes, hey, maybe we can convince the dumb, American government to work with us. Because that has worked so well in all the other Transformers films. It really has. Like, every Transformers film, it's obvious. Yeah, the American government, they're going to end up trusting the wrong people, or they're going to make some stupid mistakes. You expect it by now. I just wish it didn't have to happen, because this film should really feel like it's redefining itself, and it still has those familiar tropes lingering around there. As for the rest of the human cast, they're all right. They're not too great, but they fit neatly into their little roles here. You have John Cena playing the meat-headed military guy who doesn't trust robots, but he's willing to work with them a little bit. But he doesn't trust humans either, so he's got a little bit of a pig-headed nature to him. But he's sweet at heart, because it's John Cena, and you don't want to see him as too much of a bad guy, because he's kind of got a little bit of that Dwayne Johnson type thing going here. I can't help but feeling like they wanted Dwayne Johnson for this type of role. If he wasn't so big, they might have got him. The other character who follows Charlie on this adventure is, I think his name's like Memo. He's played by Jorg Lendenborg Jr. He's kind of like the black nerdy kid who thinks that he's too nerdy to ever connect with any girls, and too nerdy to connect with Charlie, which he does seem a little bit out of his league in terms of his personality. But at one point, he takes off his shirt in front of Charlie, and this guy is trim. I don't know. I had a hard time believing that he couldn't get girls when he looks that fit. I mean, a little bit of suspension of disbelief there. But they have some decent chemistry. I do like the fact that, even though it kind of feels like a little bit of nudging, that both Memo and Charlie aren't going to go directly into a romantic relationship. Like, there's a moment towards the end where they kind of like subvert it, where they kind of say like, oh, you think this is going to be the moment when they finally connect? And no. It's almost like a nudging. See, like, see, we're not that terrible. We're not that predictable with our Transformers movies. See what I'm doing? But I can't. But that was probably one of my problems with the film too. Is like, it felt like it was trying so hard to not be like like the Michael Bay Transformers films. Which, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that they're actually trying to bring heart and some sweetness and some gentleness to this film. Like, they actually try to make Bumblebee feel very sympathetic. I mean, they've got like the great swelling music there. They have like the tender moments of like touching and being playful. There's probably the most hilarious sequences when Charlie convinces Bumblebee to like, hey, maybe you should, like, these girls have been nasty to me. Why don't we go over and prank their house? And tries to show them the fine art of throwing toilet paper and smashing eggs on cars. And of course, because he doesn't fully understand, he ends up making a mess. So there's some fun little moments in there. I did laugh here and there. There's some sweetness to it. There's some good humor here. There's like legit humor here. It's not even like pulling teeth out of the Transformers movies where you've kind of got to lower your expectations to laugh and have a good time. I had some fun with this film, even though it kind of just like petered out towards the end and just became just became not quite the same level as as Michael Bay's Transformers movies, but I wish it could have gone like the extra distance here. Like, it's got the right idea. It's got the right idea by actually giving character to the Transformers, by not overloading the plot with, like too many other arcs or too many other characters. It feels very simplified, very simple to understand. And like I said, it's for kids, so if you want to make a film for kids, you do have to simplify it. I just wish there was some more chemistry here. I wish there were more moments where, I got to see Bumblebee and Charlie connect, where I actually felt more for him, because it's like it's frustrating. It's almost there. It's almost there to the point where it's like, you've almost got this kind of like E.T. Iron Giant story going on, but you've got to go the extra mile. If there had been like, maybe like 15 or 20 more minutes of her just hanging out with Bumblebee, I thought it would have been great. I would have loved the film. But as it stands, it does still feel a little bit artificial. I think I wrote in one of my reviews that this is basically diet Transformers. It's all the robot action, but none of the Michael Bay insanity fat, but it's loaded up with artificial sweeteners. It's almost trying too hard to be heartfelt and genuine, where it doesn't quite put in the work, but it still wants you to care for Bumblebee and Charlie. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the effort. I think if they're going to keep doing these Transformers movies because they keep on making money, I think this is definitely the route to go. I think they need to refine it a little more. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that Travis Knight just soldered up, just like sandpapered off all the crap. He took out all the junk of the too many arcs, too many characters, messy CGI and all that. He took all that out. He removed it, and it's, if this is the route they want to go forward, great. This is a great start to start fresh. So yeah, for kids, I think kids will like it. There's nothing really objectionable here. There's no humor that's too crass or too vulgar. There are very few characters that are mean-spirited. There's barely any cynicism in this movie, which I absolutely loved. The only thing I would say that kids might be weary of is, like, you actually get to see the Transformers kill some humans here by turning them into goo. So I guess it's like, they zap them, and don't worry, they don't turn into like bloody slop. They turn into goo. I don't know if that's better, but at least it's not blood. So yeah, I mean, for kids who like Transformers movies, I think this is probably the best one suited for them. I think it does have enough heart that I don't think adults will be bored by it. I think some adults might actually enjoy it. But as for me, for having seen films like E.T. and the Iron Giant, and even lesser films to this extent of like one kid finding some alien device and then trying to save the world with it and stuff like Axel or Kin, I don't think that it's quite there to be a great film. So yeah, if you're lowering your expectations from the Michael Bay films, yeah, it's a great film. But if it's in that same camp of E.T. and Iron Giant, it's got a little bit of ways to go. Not a lot. It just needs to add a little bit more character here, I think, to be the kind of sweet film that it wants to be, the kind of sweet adventure film that it wants to be. So almost there. I mean, I enjoyed parts of it, but there's nothing really here that I want to come back to see. Not to mention some of the dialogue here. They really have to force the exposition through here, which again could be just because it's a kid's film. I understand that, but a lot of the dialogue here really forces the exposition. They try to do it naturally here and there, but there's a few points where you're just like, okay, I get it. You're just, you got to get the exposition out, so you got to have this bland dialogue. So I wish it. So yeah, it's trimmed. I just wish it could have been a little bit more trimmed and refined and built up. So yeah, for Bumblebee, 2.5 out of 5 stars.